Hello, welcome to this edition of Real Talk with TAS and OnJerya. We're so glad that you're with us this evening. We are so excited. We want to talk about something real special tonight, and I cannot wait. Hi, Manswell. Hope you're doing well. I cannot wait until OnJerya arrives. Hi, Dennis. How are you doing, my brother? It is so good to see you. I hope that things are good with you and your family. It's always good to see you. Hi, Miss Angelia. Let me send you a little invite. Let's see if we can't get you in. Yeah, let's see. I'm here. A little ring, ring.
Okay.
All righty.
Can
Are
you
you
hear me?
there, Miss Angelia? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, goody, 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 goody gumdrop. I think you used to say when you were much younger.
Oh yeah, girl, that was Miss Lowry phrase.
Oh, that was Miss Larry's phrase. Goody, goody
Goody
gumdrop.
goody
Okay,
gumdrop.
okay. I thought that was your phrase. Okay. Well, bless Miss Larry's soul. She was. We. That's a whole nother story, guys. She was my fifth grade teacher, and then did you have in the fifth grade too?
No, I had it in sixth grade.
Okay, sixth grade. I think she was my fifth grade teacher, but she was a wonderful teacher, and you learned a lot with Miss Lowry. And one thing I like to talk about those great philosophers, and this might kind of tie into what we may be talking about tonight. But Miss Lowry used to say that you correct me, Anjaya, I got mine, and you got yours to get. She was a great philosopher. I love a philosopher. And she used to say she got hers and you got yours to get. And that means so much in so many different ways, guys, because she got hers and she had hers. Hi, Nisha. Thanks for joining us. So, Miss Angelia,
Yes.
what you want to talk about, girl? Something that's
I,
been burning with you.
it's been a week. I mean, it's only Tuesday, but I promise you, it's been a week. Okay. It's been a day and it's been a week. I don't know. So much has been happening, like in the world today. Like I don't even know where to start. Um, I don't know. I guess, did I ever tell you about the meeting that I had at the school?
No.
The little what do they call it? Uh, it was the EOG. Anyway, it was like some little meeting about the EOG. Uh, for the parents, because as we know, it's that time of the year to slowly start, having those conversations about testing. And I thought that it was very interesting with last week being, Dr. Seuss's birthday, Read Across America. And I was like, okay, so we're having this meeting. But the thing that was interesting about the meeting was, where were the parents?
Oh.
Like, yeah, where are the parents? Because um, you would think that, again, since we are, getting ready to be prepared for,
Mhm.
testing and everything, that more parents would have shown up and, received that information. But no, and it was two sessions. And like, again, where were the parents? So it got me thinking. And for like 2 seconds, I was like, girl, maybe you need to go back in the classroom. And then for those 2 seconds, I was like, no, we're good.
Okay.
We're
You sure
good.
you good?
Oh,
There's
yeah, I'm
there's a high
positive.
there's a high need right now.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I know, but I'm good. I am good. I'm good. But like my heart goes out to, you know, the teachers, but also educators as a whole, because they just look so defeated and just very exhausted. Like the math teacher, and Lord bless her heart, she was just like, at this point, I'm just trying to get them through.
Mhm.
you know and so as a parent, that's kind of encouraging but discouraging at the same time. So I thought about book that you read last week.
Mhm.
And I just remember that it was just like encouraging and uplifting. And I'm like, I wonder if this is something that not only can be shared with our children, right?
Mhm.
But also shared with other educators. Because sometimes it's easy to feel defeated, especially when it's been a long year. And we talk about diversity, right? And I thought it was interesting that the theme for this year was, create and celebrate a nation of diverse readers.
Mhm.
So I know you're like, you said a lot to say a lot to say. What did you say? And I agree. I agree, Ms. Sharp, absolutely. Unfortunately, many parents are not engaged. And that is a scary thing. So as you are pondering with your Dr. TAS hat, because I
Mhm.
guess I'm channeling Dr. TAS tonight, not Teresa, Dr. TAS. What is some feedback? Like, what are some thoughts, right? As an educator, right? Because you essentially are an educator. You work with a different group of students, but you still work with students. What is some insight that you would share to parents as it relates to being an advocate for your student, your child?
I think that I think first of all that is very timely. And when you talk about create and celebrate a nation of diverse learners, first of all, we are a very diverse nation. And unfortunately, our reading level is not at the level that it should be for students or adults because the students become adults. And with each generation or each graduating class, the reading level does decrease. So when you look at it compounded over years, our reading level in the United States is decreasing versus increasing. And I think I read something very recently that we probably go between I'm going to say a fifth grade to maybe a seventh grade level reading average, and that's very disheartening. In the media, just in general, there's been a lot of crises that our school systems have been experiencing from, which is traditional, lack of funding. But it appears that this school year, there have been school systems that have really, I don't know how to say this in BPC. It seems that there have been several school systems in mid-stride or mid-year that have run out of money, or maybe the budgets haven't been developed appropriately. And as a result, there have been individuals who have resigned. Also, so we know over the last several years, there has been a shortage of bus drivers. There have been a shortage of teachers. And even here in North Carolina, in some of our more prominent school districts, and I'm going to characterize prominent by the size and also the funding that goes into those school districts, meaning the state funding and then the local funding. So these are school districts that have the money to pay their teachers, but even they now have been in a position where they're not able to attract the teachers, particularly their math, their science teachers. And so they're now struggling, and they're in a new normal that they've never had to struggle with previously. So when we begin to look at just where we are, I can't leave out the pandemic because for some, they hang their hat on the pandemic. But being in education for basically 30 years now, I don't hang my hat on the pandemic. The pandemic has pulled the scab off of what always was and making it more mainstream for those who may not have been aware or who perhaps was not as cognizant. They didn't understand the severity of what was occurring because they may not have had kids in the system. So therefore, they hear it, but it doesn't mean anything. But when you start seeing that it's masses of kids, then you see that there are multiple, or just about the majority of the school districts across the country now are unable to hire adequate teachers, and that people across multiple school districts now are losing teachers throughout the school year. And it doesn't matter whether they're affluent school districts or not. And that school districts are having to become very creative um, regarding how they provide instruction for students because they don't have qualified teachers, but they have long-term subs who are being supported by the qualified teachers who are actually there, which means the qualified teachers are being overworked in order to help cover those classes where they don't have a qualified teacher in the classroom. So it goes on and on and on and on. And then, as you said, OnJerya, now we are rolling into the spring,
Right.
which means we're rolling into testing time, state assessment. And that drives so much. Now, if I just look at it from an economic perspective, why is state assessment so important? Well, it's important because as a company, as a
Right.
business leader, I decide where I'm going to put my company based upon what state has the man force or the workforce to then I can hire to run my company.
Right.
If that workforce is not there, I'm not likely to come to your state or to your community. Or if I do, listen to what I'm about to say, then the negotiation may not be as favorable for the state as you would like it to be, because if the workforce, it's a matter of help me, OnJerya. I got to try to tap into my business brain. Supply and demand,
It is supply and
because
demand.
I'm over in education. I got to come back. It's a matter of supply and demand. So you can't supply me what I need. So I'm going to negotiate down, meaning you're going to take what I'm going to give you as a state
Right.
as far as the revenue base and the taxes that I'm going to pay, because you need me to come into your state, because you need businesses to come in. And they are far in between because you cannot provide a workforce that can meet the company's needs. So it becomes a cyclic thing that impacts everybody. So whether I have kids that are in the system or not, it's still going to impact me. So it becomes a cyclic domino effect that has then impacted everyone. So now it's everybody's concern, or it should be. I will say this. When I worked for vocation rehab, now I got to think about how I'm going to say that. Hmm. When I worked for vocation rehab, when I worked in our K-12 system, when I was an adjunct at the community college, when I was an adjunct at a four-year institution. Hello, Melissa. Thank you so much for joining us. When I worked at so many different places, I had a concern. At one point, I did private duty, and I had a concern about the individuals who could potentially take care of me in my senior years if I was in a facility. Because I could see at that point in time that individuals were not learning the skill set that they were going to need in order to be employed in our skilled nursing facilities, our rest homes, et cetera, et cetera. And that was very concerning for me. Very, very concerning indeed. Well, that concern hasn't changed. It's actually magnified because fast forward like 3 or 4 years, guys, just 3 or 4 years. And we're looking at the state of education in the United States. So now we're going to you're going to take this funnel, we're going to pare it back down. But I wanted to give a backstory so that as we talk about it, realizing that this impacts all of us. And it takes really all of us. We're all the village that has to figure out, how do we solve this? How do we make it better for our families, our extended families, our communities, our school communities, our church families, because we have kids in our churches, and so on and so on and so on. So you talked about, the theme was create and celebrate a nation of diverse readers. I know that we have some authors, several authors who joined us tonight. And I can't speak for these authors, but those that I know, I believe that they understand the power of the spoken word and the written word, and how it opens the door to possibilities. So when we talk about the fact that there were 2 opportunities for parents to attend the meeting, but the parents were not there, and the teachers looked defeated or deflated, I think you were alluding to. I think that we have to step back and, first of all, just recognize the fact that our teachers are overtaxed. And we've been saying this for 25 years. They have the most important job in the world, educators, but they're overtaxed and underpaid. And that is more now than ever before. And that's why we're having the max exodus. And it's going to, unfortunately, probably increase. But then at the same time, you have educators who are trying to educate their kids, and they're dealing with some of the same issues with their own children that their parents are dealing with the kids that they're teaching every day. So it's like 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. So when I was reading Braylon and the bear, I hope I said the title correctly, the bear, Braylon, the bear and friends, forever friends, last week, there were things that just jumped out at me. And, I got very emotional about Braylon because, I love Braylon. And for me, as a former school counselor, I immediately saw social emotional components of living. And of course, now there's been a big push for social emotional learning to be included in schools. And I'm very grateful for that. But social emotional learning is not just about K-12, it's about everything. So when we start talking about your original question, OnJerya, what would I say to parents, I think is what you asked.
Yes.
Well, I think the first thing, like I said, is recognizing that teachers are human beings. And I think that parents need to tap into their own social emotional learning or regulation, and understanding that, as I stated, that teachers are human beings,
Yeah.
and that they're dealing with the same thing that everybody else is dealing with. And social emotional intelligence, or SEL, in the simplest form, is understanding and managing our feelings and how we interact with others. We all, well, maybe y'all don't. Some of us know instances where parents have gone in and just let teachers have it.
Yeah.
They just go off on them. Let's don't do that. Let's don't do that. They doing the best they can. A friend of mine would say, "You know what you send to school every day," and you know the friend I'm talking about. Yeah, he would say that, and he says it probably right now on his IG little clips and wherever he places them at. You know what you sending to me, so there's no reason for you to go in there and blow smoke on the teacher. Let's just work together to try to educate little Raheem, a little Billy, or little Isaac, whomever. Because again, we all have to be in this as a partnership. And I think that understanding feelings and knowing how to regulate them and what's driving those feelings is going to be the first step. Because understand, our parents are the first teachers for the students. So if I see my mother or my father behave a certain way, then that says I can be disrespectful to the teacher also, correct?
Absolutely.
And, you and I have had an after school program, and we've seen kids be very disrespectful
Oh, yes, honey. Had to love them extra hard.
because they mama say they don't got to do that, right?
That's what they said.
They don't have to listen to you. So, again, understanding where they're coming from and why they are the way that they are. But again, understanding that when you understand your feelings or understand their feelings, it's like a roadmap. And then you know how to navigate those curves. You find as long as you're driving straight, but you hit a curve, and if you don't slow down, you just can't take the curve but so fast. So you have to learn how to navigate those curves. And it's the same thing with feelings, because once you understand the feelings, then you're able to better manage them, which means you begin to understand them. And in order to understand the feelings, you got to understand what's driving the feelings, because there's something that's driving it. Okay. And that then opens up, hopefully, communication, because communication is so important. This just happens to be, was the active listening month, I think it was, that I put out. Yeah. So active listening, we all listen, but are we actively listening? Are we listening, waiting for the person to stop speaking so that we can then say what we want to say? You know, Again, if that's the way we're listening, then we're not really hearing that person. We're just biding our time so that we can speak. And so I think that, learning how to get along with others, modeling that for our students and how we interact with our teachers, but also in how we get along with our family. And with Braylon and Timmy. Now, you know how I feel about Braylon and Timmy. I think that Braylon, here's Braylon, my little old Braylon, the bear of friends, Braylon, his favorite friend. He did it so well. He did it very well. And it's a lesson for all of us. The way he was able to do that, you think about it, well, you guys got to get the book. Braylon was rudely awakened. Rudely awakened. He didn't want to get up. Now, think about your kids. Now, some of you got kids, got grandkids. Some of you are really relate to this. It's time to get up. You can't even get a morning routine. And that is your morning routine. Every morning, you tell them to get up. And every morning, they fighting you to get up. Well, that's the morning routine. And so he is rudely awakened by his mother. He got a little bit of time to eat breakfast. He eats the breakfast, then he run on out the house. You gotta get up with his friend Timmy, who's next door. They having fun. They going on to school. They get to school early, but on time. And so then it's like, oh, you ready for your show and tell? Like we used to do when we was in school. Well, Braylon don't have his show and tell. So his friend Timmy gives him one of his show and tells. And so everything go well. Then it's time for lunch. Braylon ain't got his lunch. Braylon ain't lunch at home. He would have his morning routine. His morning routine was he won't out to bed on time. So he don't have no lunch. He didn't have no show and tell. And so he gets some of his friends peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a nap. Then it's time for them to have recess. And then so on and so on. I want to get a story away, guys. And so on and so on and so on. So him and Timmy, they are like this. They stuck like glue. And so at the end, Braylon is sharing with his mother how the whole day went and that they were just the best of friends and she's so happy they're going to be friends forever. But the lesson there is that they were willing to support each other. They showed kindness to each other. And I think, OnJerya, when you and I were originally talking about this, we were talking about empathy and we were talking about compassion.
Yeah.
We were talking about how do you support your child when they're getting ready to go into exams, and particularly if they haven't been successful so far this academic year. What do you do? How do you help your teachers to help them to be successful? And I want to talk about some practical things first of all. I talked about the fact that Timmy, which is a turtle, shows Braylon the bear empathy when he shared his show and tell and when he shared his lunch with him. We have to demonstrate or use the word demonstrate. That's not the word. We have to model or show our children what it means to be empathetic towards other people. So, like I said, you don't go in and blast the teacher just because something didn't go right for your child. Just because you didn't get the grade that you would like to have, you don't blast your instructor. Just because you didn't get the raise you wanted to get, you don't blast your boss. Just because XYZ, you don't do such and such. Again, we're constantly modeling. One of the other things that I thought about, OnJerya, and you have children, and you've worked with the little kids, because you have a associate's degree also, I think, in early childhood education, as well as you have your master's in curriculum.
Yeah.
Okay. And you jump in here because this may, because I think about things, not always from the little kitty side, but teachers and parents, encourage them to support their peers. I thought about an activity that may be beneficial. Um, you could, and I've done this. Me and a friend of mine, we've done this. Write down little. I'm gonna call like affirmations, but just little encouraging words and things like that. And you can put it in a jar, and the kids can pull one out, and they've got a buddy, whomever. You've assigned them a person they've got to read it to, and so they read it, and they're basically showing an act of kindness to that person because they're reading it, and it's going to say, "Well, Teresa, da 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 today." Well, that's their way of paying it forward. They're then, it's a kindness jar. And that's their way of showing kindness, but you're modeling that. So we have to start young with that so that when we get to exam time and somebody's struggling, because kids react so differently for exams. Some kids really panic. I've seen kids get up and run out the room at every level because the stress of trying to, complete the exam successfully is just so much for them. So again, slowly modeling how you can show kindness towards someone. Also, we talked about the friendship and the fact that, I'm trying not to give it away, but they were out on the playground, I should say. And so Timmy tripped, and Braylon could have left his friend, but he didn't leave him. He didn't leave him. And so, he stayed with his friend. And so he was showing cooperation, he was showing support. Um, Looking at other ways that students could show support. And I thought about, compliment circles. I know on my job, this started during, I want to say during the pandemic. Was George Floyd during the pandemic, guys, or was
It was.
well, pandemic George Floyd, we started support circles. And it has continued. So anytime there's something that kind of happens nationally that would impact any segment of our workforce or just impact folks in general because it's happening in our world, there will be a support circle. And so the information is shared across the organization and anyone is welcome to attend. And so I thought about, instead of a support circle, what about a compliment circle? And what you could do is you could put children in circles and they take turns giving a compliment to a person that's sitting next to them. This would promote positive communication and boost self-esteem because, again, we've got to learn to start supporting each other. Braylon, when his friend failed, and basically Braylon was about to win this race that they were running, guys, but when he heard the other animals laughing, he looked back and he saw that his friend had fallen. Well, he had a choice to make. He could either win the race or he could go help his friend. Well, he chose to go back and help his friend. Again, that shows the buddy system and the fact that they supported each other So we have to start building that sort of character in our children early on. So that if a child, I go back to, because I've seen it happen, breaks down, they don't give up and run out the classroom during exam, but they're shaking, crying in their seat. Kids are not going to laugh as the kids were laughing at Timmy the turtle when he fell. Um, they're going to remain calm because they don't need to get out their seat because we don't want anybody to say they were cheating during the exam time, but they'll remain calm, understanding that this person's just having a rough moment. They're going to let the teacher or the proctor take care of the child, and then everybody's just going to continue on. Again, these are things that happen not by happenstance, but we have to teach these skills. And Ajay, my question would be to you: are these skills necessary for all of us, or just for children?
No, it's necessary for all of us because again, it's not just one setting, right? Because when we think of it, of course, yes, we are talking about, in this particular example, students in school. But even as adults, when we're out and about, regardless of where we're at, if we're out at the store, the movie, concerts, what have you, these are still skills and tools that we need to utilize. Some of the things that you said were, I feel like, were definitely spot on. Um, I guess my I don't want to say my concern
Mm-hmm.
or maybe my thing. I'm gonna say my thing because I don't know the word right now. It'll come to me.
Mm-hmm.
Would be maybe we lack support because we don't really know what it looks like, right?
Yes.
Because what my support looks like is not what your support looks like. And I feel like, yes, I agree. Like modeling is where it's at. It's what they say. You want somebody to respect you, you have to respect them, right? You treat others how you would want others to treat you. So I like 1,000% agree with that. But again, that's not something that's taught. It's not being taught at home. So therefore, it's not something that's a focus when transition to school and then these students become adults. Because it's nice to say you should empathize, right? You should have that empathy. Most people don't have that, and it's not that they can't have it. It's just that they were never taught to have it. When I reflect back about the meeting, they want to talk about critical skills. Now, I kind of chuckled to myself. I'm not even going to lie. I was like, oh, so now we want to talk about critical skills.
Uh-huh.
Well, why were we not focused on that when these kids were in kindergarten? Why are we not focused on that first, second, and on up? Now it's a big push, but I'm like, it's never too late, but it presents a challenge because if I was never taught to think, because that wasn't how it was being presented, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was, the information's being presented, and I'm sorry, just to learn it now and forget about it. And that's why my heart goes out to these educators because I can honestly say, at this good old age of 21
Yes. Yes.
and 18 on good days, that there are some things that I learned and I can still recite like I had to recite it yesterday. And I'm not talking about these songs or anything like the preamble to the Constitution, like different poems. And I just feel like that's not something that is being taught. Therefore, now when you focus on critical thinking, it's like, how can I think when I never really had to think, right? Because I just learn the information for the moment. And then once I do what I need to do with it, it's gone. It's like an eraser. I've erased the board. Yes, that's going back, dry eraser board. Just erase. I write it on there, I erase it. Let me throw back for you. The overhead projector. If you know, you know. Write it on there, wipe it off, it's gone. So It's sad, but what I'm about to say, again, this is a disclaimer. This is my personal opinion. I want to put that disclaimer out there. We've created this mess, and we need to own it. That's all. We created this. We as parents, we as the village, we created this. And we don't feel like it impacts us because we may not have kids or we may not have people, in the school system or whatever circumstances are. But yeah, no, it does impact your community because one of these days, these students, these kids, these babies, these lovable individuals are going to be working in your community. So if you have not provided them with the support system that they need, you haven't provided them with the tools in the toolbox that they need, then ultimately we're all to blame for setting them up for failure. So can we really just solely only point the finger at the parents? That's the
Our
question.
teachers?
Or the teacher?
No.
No, no.
Angie, I want to go back. Now, you said several things, and, I was trying to take notes here. But I want to, you know me, this is, because this is what I would do if we were just chatting on the
Oh,
phone.
no.
What'd you say?
Oh, God. Okay.
So obviously, guys, I've stepped out of Dr. Ta's hat, but I'm always Dr. Ta's. Oh, I was Dr. Smith, wasn't it? And now I'm Dr. Taz. Okay, I'm Dr. Taz now. Now, did I hear you say you started off talking about relaxed support because we don't know what it looks like, and we'll come back to that maybe. But you said they're not taught to think. Now,
Right.
I have this thing about thinking. And we know that. I have this thing about thinking. And then you talked about the fact that there are still things that you can remember. And I thought immediately, since we were talking about Miss Lara, that Paul
Ooh,
Revere thing and all that. I thought immediately about that when you were saying that. But also, then I think about Bloom's taxonomy and the levels and the recall, which is just remembering. But then I'm an educator, so then it's like that's still remembering something is not thinking. But then this is Dr. Tom's thinking
right.
here. This is my interpretation, guys. So please don't kill the messenger. Because for me, thinking is critical thinking. If you're not critically thinking, you're not thinking. You're just regurgitating.
Yeah.
And I have a problem with regurgitation. And I've had a problem with that since I was a little girl. I don't like for somebody to just say the same thing that I said and just slightly use a different word. I'm not talking paraphrasing. I'm not talking summarizing. Those are counseling skills. I'm not talking that. I'm talking basically saying the exact same thing that I said. They say another word or two. That's not thinking. That's parroting. So when you talk about this, this not being taught to think, this is not a new thing, first of all. And I don't know where it comes from. I don't I don't know if it's for some of us, I don't know if it's laziness. I don't know
Mhm.
if it's learned behavior because I'm thinking about people of all ages now. I'm not thinking about kids. And I can remember when I realized an older person was doing the thing of just changing maybe one word or two words, and they were saying the exact thing that somebody else had just said. But it was like they'd never heard what the other person said at all. Um, I thought that was interesting. But what they said, when you're a child, you have to stay in a child's place. Well, I kind of question that because I've always been a questioning person. So that's nothing new. Because my thing is, as I said, when I had a pastor that used to say, well, he would say it in the pulpit, do as I say, and not as I do. And I said to my mother, if what he's saying is so good, why isn't he doing it? Again, I was young. But for me, if what you're saying is so good that you're going to preach and tell us to do this, why aren't you doing it? Because that didn't make sense to me. That was not logical. I'm sorry. So when you talk about this, they're not being taught to think. So are you saying as we evolve as a nation, as we
Yeah.
evolve, as our technology evolves, that we have perhaps chosen to remove some things from our standard courses of studies, from our state curriculums that our common core that need to remain in them in order to build the foundation for these new technologies to further expand the brain and expand our capabilities. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, because I think about, was that last week, 2 weeks ago, a few days ago, whenever, when Facebook and Instagram like shut down. Everybody was all in a tizzy. It was like, oh my God, thought I got hacked. I'm not gonna lie, I thought I got hacked too. But
I didn't even know that happened.
I thought I got hacked. But thank goodness for TikTok to let you know that, hey, this is what's going on. It's okay. But again, just knowing how we have become so dependent on technology, right? That it's the little things in life that we don't have the ability to do. And so if we get to a point where everything is robotic, which is ultimately where they're trying to get to, because I think I was talking to somebody the other day, and maybe they was talking about, that they're going to be testing for like robots to do like microscopic type surgeries and stuff, So I'm like, okay, well, pretty soon we're not even going to need people. That's scary, right? Like thinking about the world being ran by robots. So in your mind, you're like, okay, well, if the robots are doing all this, surely we got to have, the human beings that's like, doing the maintenance and all of that. Well, I don't know. The way it's going, it seems like maybe not, right? Like, so then it's like, well, what do I do? Well, if all I know is that I have my phone and all I do is surf social media, but I don't know how to access the calculator. I don't know how to, you know, do simple math. I don't know how to count change. Ooh, don't even get me started. Ooh, that's a whole different topic right there, because my daddy would be like, if you don't know how to count change, you need to go back to school.
Yeah.
And again, that's a whole different conversation right there. But again, it's like if you don't have that, then what do you have? But it goes back to, are we actually meeting them, and them meaning students, adults, where they are? Meaning, like, we talk about these different learning styles, but we just talk about them. Are we actually doing what needs to be done to implement them in our everyday, whether it's in the classroom, outside the classroom, even on your job when you are learning a new skill, when you're in training? Is the trainer up there presenting the information in a manner that you can understand, you can comprehend, right? Because as we all know, when we have those little meetings and they're presenting stuff and they're like, does anybody have any questions? Crickets, right? But as soon as we get out that meeting, everybody on Teams. Uh, you may have separate Zoom or however it is, WebEx, or whatever. And it's like, girl, I don't understand nothing they said. Like, what? Do you know what they were talking about? But nobody asked the question when they have the opportunity to ask it, because sometimes it's like, I didn't know what to ask, right? Or maybe I thought I understood in that moment, but now we walked away, and it's like, whew, okay, it's gone. Somebody help me. So I don't know. That's one of those things that we can debate about that till the cows come home.
I think that the thing about learning styles and I'm big on learning styles. I'm auditory visual learner, but then I'm kinesthetic too. Sometimes I'm many things, but I think the thing that you said that struck me most important is, are we meeting them where they are? Where are they? You see,
Girl, they don't
I
know.
think that's my point. We
They
don't
don't.
know. We don't know, and we don't know how to find out. We don't know how to locate them. They're on an island somewhere, and we don't know how to get to the island.
Mhm.
And we are the experts, and we don't know how to find them. And unfortunately, the list of kids and or adults who are on, and I say and or adults because now I'm thinking of my kids who may be 16 to 24, who were not successful in traditional schools, who are maybe in community colleges now trying to get their high school equivalent diploma or whatever it's called in your state. And then, are trying to get their associate's degree, whatever, but they're still trying to get their education. We don't know where they're at. We don't, so we can't provide them the educational support that they need, nor the education that they need in the manner that they need it, because we don't know where they are. And they're not able, in some cases, to articulate where they are. And in those cases where they can articulate it, sometimes we don't have the resources to provide them what they need, or we may be resistant to provide it in that manner. Or I'm not resistant, but the person that has to sign off on it may or may not be resistant. The system may not be resistant. It could be a funding issue, but regardless, I can't meet their need. So they still out there on that island, wherever they are, and I can't find them. And I believe that is more of an issue than anything, that we are unable to meet the needs. And we're going to have to figure out how to reach our children, how to reach these students in a different manner. And that means learning their language, learning what their interests are, and starting there. Because you can continue to try to do the same old. But I go back to your quote of Einstein. Is it Einstein?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Insanity is doing the same thing, expecting to get a different result, and you're not getting a different result. You're getting the same old result. So we've got to look at how do we do this differently. And again, this is a conversation that's not going to go away anytime soon. And it's not a ha 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 conversation, guys, but it's a real conversation because, I'm not a parent. But when I worked at our State Department, I said I had 1.4 million children. I think it's 1.5 million kids now that we are educating in North Carolina in a K-12 system. But I felt responsible for those 1.4 kids because I supported our school counselors, our school social workers, and school psychologists, and they were touching those kids. And I felt responsible because the systems that I was building was going to support those kids and their families. And as you heard me say many times, OnJerya, I would get the calls. A colleague of mine at the time, she would say to me, we were in cubicles, guys. She's like, I don't know how you do it. You can do it. But I would get these calls from parents, and they would send them to me, I guess because I was a school counseling consultant at the State Department. And I would listen to the people. And then I would tell them, I want you to listen to me now. Listen to me. Same way I do people all the time. Listen to me now. Because I don't change. As Mike Murdoch says, I don't change. I would tell them, this is what I want you to do. Get your pencil and paper. This is what I want you to do. This is who you're going to talk to. And I'm going to transfer you. And I'm going to give you their number in case you get cut off. And I said, all this stuff that you just told me, don't tell them that. That's going to confuse them.
Yes.
That's not what they need to know. This is what you're going to tell them. Write it down. And then I would tell them what they're going to tell them. And then I would tell them what their question was. And then I'd ask them, did they have any questions? And then I'd answer their questions. And then I'd send them to whomever. And then I'll never forget one or two people. One was a white gentleman, and I can't remember the other one was a lady or what, but I didn't forget the white gentleman because it was very rare that I'd have a man on the phone because typically it's female who are advocating for their kids. And so he called me back. He's like, because he was transferred to me, but you know, because they would have told him who I was and blah, blah, blah. And they probably gave him my number. He either looked it up on the website. And he said, oh, you helped me the last time. I'm like, yes, sir. Mm-hmm. And he told me a little bit. I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember. And he told me what the issue was. I said, okay. I said, this is what we got to do this time. And so I got him to the right person. And he didn't call me back. So I guess we got that resolved. He didn't have another issue. But I applaud him, though, because he did not forget me. And he called me back. And I got him on the right path. But my point with even sharing that is that we still have to remain persistent.
Yeah.
We can't stop. We have to be like the tortoise in the hare. We have to be like Timmy. You know, he fell, but he got up. You know, he kept on going, even though him and Braylon walked off. But we know the tortoise in the hare, you know, he kept moving,
Right.
and the tortoise beat the hare, even though the hare was much faster. So again, we have to keep plugging along. It's up to all of us. It's up to that person who needs to be educated. And the thing that, which is really for another show, and what saddens me is the kids who, how do I want to say this, who understand what they're doing, but they choose to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Who don't understand that in the third grade, those kids who do not pass third grade is where they look at the statistics for the number of prison beds that they need, male or female, who don't understand that. And they choose not to do the work. Not that they can't do the work. It's one thing when you can't do it. It's a little different. But they choose not to. They don't do it in third grade. They don't do it in fourth grade. They don't do it in fifth grade. They don't do it in sixth grade, seventh grade, and so on. And then they wonder why the world is treating them badly. Because you chose not to do anything. Not because you didn't have the ability. You chose not to do anything. And I don't understand that. So that's a whole nother conversation. Because that's like trying to understand the anatomy of that mind. You know, why? Why would a person choose to do that? I can remember some of my alternative kids, you know, Sean, he didn't want to be smart. He didn't, you know, because he wanted to fit in. But then when I ran into Sean, you know, several years back, he's like, hi, Miss Smith, because I wasn't Dr. Smith then. I didn't know who he was. I looked up at him. I'm like, yeah. He's like, you don't know who I am? I'm like, no, I don't. Yeah, I'm like, no, I don't know you. I'm like, no. Then I'm like, oh, Sean, because he was a kid that I had my first year in education, and he had it together. He's like, I got it together now. I'm like, I'm so glad, Sean, because he's a smart young man, smart. But his circumstances, he was trying to fit in, but brilliant, brilliant. But again, why? I mean, he wasn't being left behind either. I mean, he wasn't, you know, being retained. That was not the issue. He just wasn't able to be in a traditional school setting. So again, I don't understand that because they're handicapping themselves. And as you said, OnJerya, the world is changing and evolving such that the curriculums are different. So if you don't grasp hold of whatever's being given, it's going to be a little hard. It's going to be a little hard for you when you're further down the road and you don't even have the fundamentals And nobody can teach you the fundamentals because nobody can teach you the fundamentals. Is where I'm going to leave that. They can't teach you the fundamentals. So,
Oh God, I'm like Candace.
so
Oh God. I'm like Candace. Oh, if you watch the Real Housewives of Potomac, you'll understand. But it's it's sad. It's sorry. I guess it's that trigger warning. um, because you do see those students that really do try, but they just lack the support system. So therefore, they feel defeated. So they just throw in the towel. I'm sorry, yo. It's like when we make that statement, "No child left behind." It's easy to say that, right? But what does that really mean? What does that really mean, no child left behind? Because there are children being left behind. There are adults being left behind. Like, it's not just when it comes to education, it's just things as a whole. Like, when we look at our society, and I'm so sorry, I did not mean to get on here and start crying.
it's okay.
But I guess it goes back to, what you had said, I don't know if that was last week or a few weeks ago, about, it's okay to
It is.
laugh, because sometimes you have to laugh to keep from crying. But um, it's sad. It's sad that this is a discussion that we, continuously have to have, and there's nothing being done about it. Um, there's all these issues around funding, and it's like, why are we arguing about paying these teachers? Because again, we need teachers, period. Like, we need them. We need the parents advocating for their kids. If the parents don't know how to advocate for their kids, and I understand that, again, with a lot of parents, when you talk about school, they get afraid because, maybe like in school, they were the best students. Um, they didn't make the best grades. Maybe they were acting up, whatever the circumstances are. So going to the schoolhouse, as they say, is not an option because it goes back to what we said, that trauma, right? It triggered them because of, their experience. But the bottom line is that we have to do a better job. Ultimately, we got to do a better job. Like, when it comes to educating our kids that will one day be the citizens that is running this wonderful nation, we have to do our due diligence as a village. It doesn't matter, again, if you don't have kids or any, family members in the school. It doesn't matter. If you live in that community and you care about your community, you will do all that you can to give back and chip in and see what it is that you can do to help. Because again, one day you're gonna look up and that person's gonna be your CNA, or that person's gonna be your nutritionist working in that kitchen preparing your meals, or that person is going to be your pharmacy tech, or whatever role that they are. And you want to make sure that the last thing you worried about is this person qualified to do the job? Can they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Do they know the difference between a different type of antibiotics, right? Because you got all different types. I mean, I'm not going to go through them all, but you got, and can they actually comprehend what it is? Because you think it don't impact you until it does. And I used to hear people say, years ago, I'm not worried about it. There's no reason to worry about it. No, there is a reason to worry about it, because what they found out in their good old age, uh, if you don't know your medicine and you don't ask questions about your medicine, you may wind up with the wrong medicine. And sometimes that can have an impact that you can't rebound, bounce back from. So again, education is always going to be a topic of discussion. I don't think there is anything that we should take lightly. I definitely don't think it's anything that we should play with or laugh about. I was bothered. I'm not even gonna lie. Being at that meeting and it was only 5 of us in there, 5 of us, and it's 3 classes. And at a minimum, we're gonna do some simple math here. At a minimum, it's 20 students. It's 20
75.
students. But we know that there's probably about a good 25, 28 students in each class. And so here it is. You got 3 classes, only 5 parents, and the teachers are just like screaming for help. I mean, they run around like they didn't want to be there. And I'm like, again, if you don't want to be here and this is your job, then I'm kind of concerned as the parent on like if I want to send my kids there, right? Because again, it's like, how can I help you? How can we help each other? What type of initiative, what type of programs that we can implement to help each other? Like, again, as I was talking to someone, I said, I think sometimes we talk so high level. Let's talk plain. Talk plain. Top play. Break that curriculum down, okay? Don't give me that curriculum from the state of North Carolina perspective. Give it to me from this is what you need to know. You need to know how to do XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. And here's an example. And you walk me through it. Don't sit here and just give me this brief overview and then I figure it out. Because again, I can't help my kids if I don't know what's going on. Because it's new math, as they say, but it's not new math. It's just we just want to get you to thinking. Now we want you to think, right? it presents challenges to the point that the kids don't even have homework because they know the parents can't help them. It's a lot. So again, this is one of those things that it's not going to go away. I hope that one day it does get better and that it is taken seriously before it gets really, really bad. I do want us to get to the point where we can stop using the COVID card because I'm so over that. Like, it's because of COVID. No, baby, they didn't have it before COVID. Let's be real. They didn't have it before COVID. And it's easy to find the scapegoat. COVID was 3 years ago. I mean, I know we still in COVID. Well, 4 years ago because we in March. It was 4 years ago. Okay, we have to let that go. We got to sing a new tune, a new story, got a new chapter. And so the thing is, COVID happened. Great. We saw the holes in the leaking ship or this sinking ship. What are we gonna do now? Okay, because again, we can't use that as a crutch that because of COVID, XYZ, XYZ. No, because of COVID, this is what we discovered. Now, what are we going to do about it? So, if I had to title this, it's a call to action. It's time to stop talking about it and actually walking that walk. Because it's good to sit here and say, it would be nice. It would be nice. Now let's make it happen. Because I'm all about let's make it happen. Not doing all this talking. Let's what they say, amigos, they're walking like a talker. So let's do some walking as we talking. And as you would say, as Cyrus was saying, you need to walk and chew gum at the same time. And it's funny because somebody said that at work today, and I was like, they said I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. And if you catch this on the replay, I love you.
So they'll know who we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me share a couple of these comments, OnJerya. Thank you. I got a couple of people that joined. I didn't get a chance. Tanya Caldwell, I think I'm saying that. Tony L. Caldwell, thank you for joining us. Inbox from the VA, thank you for joining us. Mansell has said, true, teachers are leaving because of lack of support. And thank you. He said that they use real life situations and life lessons in Braylon. Thank you for Braylon, for those who may have joined us late. Braylon, the bear, and friends, forever friends. That's Braylon and the bear, and then Timmy the turtle. Also, thank you, Prairie Dodgers, for joining us. It seemed like thank you for, if I mispronounced it, I apologize. Thank you for joining us. Also, Mesh Park Pet, I'm probably mispronouncing that, but I said the foundation is broken from the jump. We need to rebuild a new foundation. Exactly. Mansell said assessment has to be done individually.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Preach, girl, you preaching that, throwing hands up. Yes, Lord. Also, y'all preaching and teaching tonight. Yes, sir. I would be laughing sitting next to Todd, bless his heart. The African Institute, Mesh Park said, would hold meetings with parents monthly. It's a small, yeah. And, that's a great suggestion there to hold meetings monthly because you cannot, I shouldn't say it this way, but, well, I am going to say it this way. In my prior role at my job, she's laughing because I always did too much. That's the reason I had to bounce back because I had done too much and I was on my back for 4 months. But when I had a faculty member who was on a plan because they weren't meeting their metrics, the plan said that I would meet with them and then sort of like the IEP, I would meet with them and then we would come up with a plan. Then I would meet with them mid year. For me, it would be mid quarter, and then we would see where they were, and then I would see what their end of the quarter metrics look like, which is sort of what the IEP sort of rolls like. Because basically, you get together. It does not necessarily a calendar year, but you get together, and once you got all the data, you determine whether the child should get an IEP. Then you basically reevaluate depending upon how who the child is and what's going on. You may reevaluate mid-year to see what's the strategies are working and then modify, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, with the process that we had in place, really, I was only supposed to meet with the person, it might have been only twice, maybe 3 times. Well, that was not my process. So when you talk about having those monthly
Yeah.
meetings, basically that's what I did. So it was we're a 10-week quarter. So I met with them. Then after I met with them, let's say I met with them in week 2 of the quarter. Then I met with them in week 5. Then I met with them probably week 7. And based upon how their metrics were going, where they were meeting their metrics, then I might have been meeting with them again. And so that might have been their 4th meeting. Then if they weren't doing well, we met again. But let's just say they were doing well. So I would have met with them 3 times. Then I met with them at the beginning of the next quarter because then I wanted to sit down with them and we're going to
Right.
walk back through everything. So at a minimum, I was going to meet with them 4 times over a 10-week period, basically. We'll say 11-week period, because I wanted to make sure that when they left me, one, they were not on a plan again. Two, they understood what they needed to do. So if they were no longer with me, it didn't matter. They knew what to do because I thought that it was my responsibility to make sure they had what they needed to do their job and be proficient, using kid language now, to be proficient
Proficient.
or to be able to do their job effectively. That was my responsibility. So for me and my mindset, you can't do that just going back in the day when my parents used to go for a teacher conference, where they do that once a year. We used to do teacher conference, OnJerya. You know better than me. Back when you was in school, did they do teacher conference once a year? Did they do it twice a year?
No, it was like what were we, 9 weeks? So like every
Okay.
9 weeks.
Oh, y'all, they did it that many times.
Yeah, like
Oh,
every 9 weeks.
I don't
Yeah.
think we did it that many times. So I'm gonna say I'll give them. I'll be nice. I'm gonna say we did it 3 times a year, but I don't think we did no teacher conference 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Not when I was in school. Now I know I'm dating myself, but that's okay. I don't mind dating myself. I just don't think the parents went to no teacher conference 3 or 4 times a year. But maybe they did, and I just don't remember. But I know they were not doing it monthly. But I think that you need that monthly check-in, and I think it needs to be in person. Now, person can be different things now, and I do get that. It may be a virtual in person, but you need to have that contact because otherwise, it's just like when a child does something wrong. We were taught we've been trained that you need to talk to them and then determine the consequences as quickly as possible so that they know they can connect the incident to the consequences.
Right.
Likewise, if the kids or something has happened with the child, the parent needs to know quickly so that there's going to be a course correction that has to occur at home. That's happening quickly, just as things are changing at the school. So then you've got the two entities, that partnership happening simultaneously versus you made a correction at the school, but I don't know nothing about that correction. And I'm still doing what we had decided to do 8 weeks
Right.
ago because I don't know that we had to make a correction. So I like that idea. Let's talk about facts. Yeah, fundamentals are important. Oops, let me see here. Um, relatability is missing. It is. It's very missing in education, and that's relatability as far as with the teachers, students, the communities. It's just changed because our teachers are no longer from our communities, but it hadn't been that way in a long time. But as someone I know likes to say, I am from someplace, I'm not of there.
Oh,
When you
yes.
come into a community, you have to become a part of the community, whether you are from there or not. So what happens is it appears that people come into a community to do a job, but they don't become a part of the community. And if you're an educator, you got to become a part of that community because, first of all, I got to trust you because you have my most precious cargo. And if I don't trust you, I'm not going to work with you. And I think that that's a part of that SEL and building relationships and trust that's missed. And I don't know how to help them to understand it, but I think that is really missed as it relates to educators going in. So that relatability, I think, is so important. Um, every day they are being left behind. I guess it fuels my fire to help. Absolutely, because our kids are being left behind. And whether we're still saying no child left behind or we're saying SNI, what is it? Is it S? It may not be SNI. Let me try to come
Yeah.
up with it.
It's like every student.
Every Student Success Act. I'll
Yeah.
butcher something in a heartbeat. Um, but it's still the same. It's the same
So,
law, federal law. We just changed the name of it. But
that's it.
again, we can't be leaving kids behind because when we leave one child behind, we've left the whole country behind because this is our future. These children are the future of the country. So we've got to be more mindful of that. People should have felt comfortable speaking up in a small. People should have felt comfortable speaking up in a small setting. You're right about that. And that's a good point. OnJerya, you said there was about 5 parents at that meeting. Well, and the parents were not speaking.
Not really. Um, they were more focused on like the extracurricular clubs, like beta club, things like that. It really wasn't geared towards actually like what was going on. And again, I understand you don't know what to ask, right? You don't know what to ask because it was a lot of information, but it wasn't a lot of information at the same time. It's just the how should I say this, girl? Just say it. The information being presented could have been presented in a different manner. I'll state it like that. I'll leave it cleaned up like that. It could have been presented in a different manner. Again, I don't do well with people lecturing to me. I'm just gonna be honest, because I check out. Okay, I'll be like Charlie Brown, wah 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 wah. I check out because all I see is your lips moving, and I'm thinking about. Yeah, when I leave here, I gotta go do this. Girl, what day is it? Like and so if I'm like that, that means the kids are like that too, right?
Yeah.
The kids are checked out, right? So again, even it's like this. If you can't keep my attention, then I see why you struggle in the classroom. Because I'm an adult. And essentially, like, these are our kids, right? So, and I'm not saying you have to have like a whole big production. You don't have to get up there and tap dance and, sing and all of that. But it's all in the delivery. So I think that's why like a lot of the parents that were there was just like, okay, we got it. Okay, we got it. Like even with this project, and I'm again, disclaimer. Even with this project, now you know these kids can't do this project. I'm just gonna be honest. Again, disclaimer. They can't do this project. I'm looking at this project and I'm like, now I understand that in essence, these students, they should be able to do this. But did we break this down or did we just throw it at them? Now I know they've been working on it, but did we really like dissect it to help them understand like the purpose, like why we're doing this, what each part represents, the importance of it, how you can take what you're doing now, right? It goes back to that relatable, right? Being relatable, taking what you're learning right now and how you can relate this to your everyday life, not just for this moment in time. No, we just sending you with something to do because that's what you need to do because I need to give you a grade. And so again, communication is important because again, we could talk about this all day and all night, but communication is very important. I do feel that yes, it is a challenge, but parents and teachers and administration, anyone that like is in that school building with the kids need to come together and they need to work together because again, in the words, I'm not gonna call the principal name, even though he is retired. I'm not gonna call his name. But I like that man. That man, ooh, honey, he was from New York too. And people up north, I love y'all. They speak their mind. They don't care. They hurt your feelings and all. But he said, day one, we work with what you send us. If you don't send us with anything to work with, then there's nothing that we can do. So what are you saying, oh? So basically what I'm saying is, we know our kids.
Mhm.
When we're having those not so pleasant conversations with the teachers and the principal about our babies, we know our babies. Let's not fight them on it. Don't argue about it. Just be like, I understand. Now what can we do so we can move on? That's how the response need to be. Because then maybe going back to that being relatable, that will then open the door to say, I feel comfortable having that conversation with you, right? I feel comfortable letting you know today wasn't a good day. I'm not trying to get up in your business. See, that's what people think you try to get. I'm not trying to get in your business. What I'm trying to do is just understand why for the last 10 weeks, Betty Boo was on her Zoom. And now these last few days, Betty Boo not here. The body here, but the mind not here. What has happened? And as a teacher, being comfortable to have that conversation with the parent because you've already built that relationship, that rapport, and that's very important. And if you do that, I promise you, your kids will do well because the teacher gonna tell you everything. They're gonna be like, look, they're gonna become your BFF to the point that you're gonna be like, okay, I need you to stop telling me how they doing, but it's good to be on that level because just like we as parents need that support, the teachers need to know that somebody got their back too because they're confronted with a lot of things. They got the administration, they got the state, fed, all of that, and the last thing they need is little old us coming in there attacking them too. So again, we're all on the same team. We're here to help each other. Sometimes you have to be creative and think outside the box. I'm sorry, they want you to color inside the line. Sometimes you can't color inside the line. Okay, you have to color outside. They may want you to use that blue crayon. Okay, well, baby, you have to use red, yellow, purple, or whatever. It's okay. And I feel like with the teachers, they're afraid. Like they don't even want to advocate for themselves because, they fear like the repercussions. It's okay. That's why we here working together. Because if I got you and I know you got me, we got each other. And we gonna make sure that these babies do what they supposed to do. And they gonna graduate and they gonna be successful model citizens. And I don't have to worry about did I get the right uh, antibiotic. Because I know that that pill should be pink instead of white. And I know that it should have this inscription on it versus the inscription that I'm currently seeing, right? Because we have provided them with the tools in their toolbox to be successful. So again, that would be my takeaway for anyone. Let's all sit here and support each other. Regardless if you have kids in the school system or not, you in that community. Take the time out, go volunteer. I'm sure the school would love to see you. They love to have you. Go read a book, go do lunch duty, whatever it is. They would love to see that there is someone in their corner that supports them, because sometimes that's all it takes for things to make a change. So, you know, it does break my heart that it was only 5 of us in there compared to what it was curriculum night back in September, compared to any other meetings that we've had. Like it was very, it was sad. It was rough. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm going to continue to do my part. And I hope that those that showed up continue to do theirs. And those that couldn't be there, that wanted to be there, will continue to do their part. And, you know, we have a successful school year and a successful academic years up until we graduate. And then we let them go. Spread their wing, butterfly, fly away.
Fly away.
Fly, fly away.
Well, OnJerya, they're going to fly away.
Yes.
And I think that we really got the conversation started tonight. You know, if we could solve all of the concerns of the U.S. education system, all of us would be filthy rich.
Yes.
Those of us that are on tonight, because we have it, because it is a very intricate, complicated system. And but we can make a difference within our own niche, within our own spaces. We can make a difference. And I think that that's the charge that I would give to everybody. Whatever you can do to make a difference, please do that, because the need is not going to decrease. Unfortunately, it's only going to increase. And it's going to take everybody to be a part of that village. So whatever you can bring to the table, please bring it. As OnJerya said, schools are going to welcome. Maybe years ago they did not welcome. Now they are going to welcome, and they are welcoming now, because they don't have enough boots on the ground. They don't have it. So, you know, if you can pass the background check and you don't get offended, even if you can't pass the background check, they're going to do the background check. And you want them to do the background check because there may be somebody in there that you care about. So you want them to do the background check. They're going to do that. They need help. They need volunteers. So please, if you can do that, please go in and assist them, because everybody is needed, and it is going to take a village. And the definition of village is going to have to shift in order for us to make real change in our country, in our communities, and in our school systems, and in the lives of these children. That's going to have to shift. And that shift's going to have to take place faster than what it has. You know, it's amazing as I bring this conversation to a close. It's amazing how quickly some things move in our country, and then other things don't move. But this is something that's going to have to pick up a little speed. A friend of mine always talk about a little gas. We need to put a little gas to this. Now this is going to have to pick up speed, because we can't keep waiting. We can't keep waiting, because the longer it takes, the more vulnerable the United States is as a whole. It's not about a certain group of people. It's the country as a whole. And we don't want to be vulnerable, guys. When I say guys, I mean to everybody, anybody that happens to listen to this. We don't want our country to be vulnerable. No. We want our country to be vulnerable, because that means all of us are vulnerable. So we've got to pick up our feet. We got to put the feet to the metal. We got to put some gas in our cars, and we got vehicles. Let's hook them up to the charger, because we've got to keep moving, and we got to move faster than we've ever moved before, because the time is now. We got to move. So again, thank you guys for joining us tonight for Real Talk with TAS and OnJerya. You never know what we're going to be talking about, but this is very timely. This is very timely. Not only are we going towards exam time, we're looking at we're almost at graduation for for college graduations. There are going to be kids who are not going to be able to graduate for many different reasons. So again, it's a snowball effect. You're the principal. I know who you're talking about. The the programs, whether it's K-12 or it's post-secondary, they do what they can with what they have to work with.
That's it.
It's up to all of us to make sure that whatever walks in the door for PK-12, post-secondary, that it is a good, solid stock, a good product, so that whomever's working with it has something to work with, so that when they exit that door, be it K-12 or be it post-secondary, they are walking out as a fully developed citizen who's ready to give back, and they can become part of the village for the next generation. So this has been Real Talk with TAS and OnJerya. Please follow us. You can see it up in the upper left-hand corner. Dr. Teresa Smith here on IG, Miss Scorpio 85 here on IG. Until next time, make sure you take care of yourself before you take care of someone else. Bye now.
Bye.